stage now is that there's been so much investment, so much engineering, so much time spent in machine learning and automation that really this is going to change a lot. And by that I mean, when you search for something on Google, your search results are going to be different from my search results, not just because of what we searched for in the past, but because of what the machine learning knows about you and how you act. And it'll even know, if I'm searching at 2 a.m, that I'm probably drunk and want, a kind of lively song on YouTube, rather than if I'm searching at 2 p.m. when I'm probably having, an afternoon tea or something like that, and I'll want something more chilled. So I think this idea of the machine learning, all these different parts of data coming together, and Google and Facebook and all these big large media platforms, they have invested so much in being able to predict people and what's going to work and performance. From my perspective as a kind of paid digital advertiser, this is something that's really going to shift my role into not just being a specialist in how to set things up, but being a specialist in how to use that machine learning and that automation to do what I want it to.
Cool. I feel like we should probably just get into this, because if we don't, we'll just chit chat and then there'll be like good stuff, but I won't have done the formal intro where I get super serious and go, on this episode of the show, I'm joined by Christina Malcolm. That was my intro, by the way. I'm using that. So
okay, great.
Christina Malcolm, welcome. I was going to say from New York, but you're not in New York. You're in Edinburgh via New York, I suppose. Would you like to give a little bit of an intro to, I guess, you and what's your backstory, just for people so they know, what you do, what you're about, and how the hell you got there?
Sure, I'd love to. Hi, I'm Christina Malcolm, as you said. I'm originally from Edinburgh in Scotland, not Edinburgh, as most people say, especially in New York. And I currently work in New York in digital advertising. I'm a paid search senior director in iProspect New York. So I started in the iProspect London office and moved over to New York 4.5 years ago. I actually left home at 17 and went down to Bristol University, studied law, thought I was going to be a lawyer. My mum and dad are both lawyers, great. Got my degree and was like, what? This is horrible. So I escaped to Singapore, where I did a random internship for a few months. And was like, this is cool, this is free. There's no one trying to sell me a training contract for a horrible archaic legal firm, and moved back to Edinburgh, clearly just still basically a impoverished student who got a degree, and managed to get some work experience in an agency in Edinburgh called Big Mouth Media, which is now LBI. And then again went down to London to try and get a job in the big smoke, and I had a few different interviews, and I ended up going with iProspect, which is just, a kind of performance digital agency, part of Dentsu network. I picked them because they had really nice pink chairs in reception, and really nice, like, pastel pink. And I was like, this is the place for me. So I just worked there and just grafted and like learned loads of stuff, and then eventually moved over to New York City, bright lights. And it's been great. It's been fun. I am not there at the moment. I am in Edinburgh because I came back to renew my visa, and then Trump closed the border and the consulate shut. So here I am.
Back to ground zero. Back to the roots.
Aged 29. Well, they're somewhere else as well, which is lucky. But yeah, I mean, very fortunate.
So when you got into paid advertising, did you know what it was? Because okay, you started a bit after me. I got into it in like 06, 07. I had no fucking idea what it was. Like, it was so new back then. So what was your awareness of what that world was about when you first got into it?
Yeah, so I knew advertising. I met all these people in Singapore who were kind of creative directors of big firms. And I decided that's what I wanted to do when I go back to London. So I applied to all these creative agencies, basically. And they all have these grad schemes that are, 400 people applying, 200 people being interviewed for like 2 spaces.
Shocker. And they're gonna pay you £2.50 for the privilege.
Exactly. exactly. Yeah, they're not really going to pay you, and it'll be all A shocker, didn't get anything. I must have had 15 interviews, and I also just like fluffed the interviews. They'd ask me things, and you know when you're just nervous and you say the weirdest stuff, shit comes out, and you're like, why did I just say that? Like, yeah, totally bizarre, horrendous stuff. And I remember like sweating profusely in an interview and being horrible. And so I kind of opened my net a little bit and didn't go for creative. I went for digital, and there seemed to be so many roles for this digital thing. So I just applied for anything and everything, and it's an entry level role that I started in. So just threw my CV at anything, and I got quite a few interviews. And of course, as soon as they say come and interview for this, you go online and you research what the hell it is. So I remember PPC and being like pay per click, like pay per click PPC, don't know that. And then there was affiliates, and I think I interviewed for all sorts of things. And the night before the second interview, just going on YouTube and just trying to learn as much as possible and nothing coming in. But I think I certainly got lucky, but it was the right time. But I also think, they're not looking for an expert. And even now when I interview people, I'm not looking for an entry level role. I'm not looking for an expert. I'm looking for someone who is passionate, smart, can probably email without making loads of spelling mistakes, or at least use a spell check, and someone who'll work well in a team. So I think that's all that they really wanted. It was a lot to learn for me. I just think there was something clicks after quite a long time for me, like 6 to 9 months.
No, I think that's about the average. I think that, like we used to say when we were training people, the first 3 months, you are just getting them grounded up with the basics and getting them doing few tasks here and there. But it's about 9 months that we would say to people, you're going to click around 9 months or you're not.
Yeah. Start making connections of why you're doing something rather than just doing the instructions. You start joining the dots a bit.
Because I think, I don't know, my view is that people who don't know about it from the outside think, number one, it's like a dark art for a start. Number two, I think they get mixed up and think that paid advertising on Google or Facebook or YouTube is the same as SEO. I think a lot of people still can't differentiate between the two. And number three, I think they think it's highly numeric and analytical, which it is. But I think people think like that means maths and statistics.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know about you, I'm not a math person. They never got me in to be a math guy because I ain't got my abacus with me. It's more about it's more about patterns. Like, would you think that that's a more fair distinction? That it's more patterns than just pure numbers?
Yeah, definitely. I think you can't be afraid of numbers, otherwise you're not. The Excel spreadsheet is one of our best mates, particularly when you're starting out. But yeah, it's more about spotting nuances or things that look different and shouldn't be there, or kind of plotting it out and wondering what a big spike is, and then wanting to actually find out what it is. That's half. Even after 9 months, you could kind of get it, like you said. But if you don't care or you don't want to know what's going on there, probably not for you either. You've got to like get excited by it and feel good about those insights that you're bringing from the data.
Yeah, you've been doing it for a while, so something clearly, obviously, has stuck and is exciting for you. Like, what is that? Do you know what's the thing that keeps you still wanting to do this and delve into it?
Ooh, I think I got really lucky in that I got taught from some really smart people. Um, People that were pretty chilled at first, so I could make a lot of mistakes, and then people who weren't chilled. I remember having a little cry in the bathroom once. But this guy who was just so smart. He was next level, brilliant at numbers, not really people, clearly making someone junior cry, but he spotted things and was able to take what I do, paid search, and do what we now call best practices, which is a really wanky term for just like finding and being able to hack the system a little bit. So understanding Google's algorithm, and here's what Google recommends, but actually as an agency, we know that if you do it this way and this way, you can kind of trick it. And so this guy taught me a lot of that gold dust, and I was able to just vacuum it up, use it, practice it, and then kind of slowly build. At no point in my career do I think I was lucky, apart from maybe the people, but I don't think there was any like, oh, Christina, here's an open role, you've got a promotion. I fought for almost every promotion that I've had, and that's part of it. If you sidestep or try and jump too far, and you don't graft and you don't learn, you're gonna be caught, or you're not gonna be as brilliant as you could be.
That's interesting. I want to go into that because I've obviously led teams when I was in the agency, and I found a distinction between certain mindsets that people have. Number one, I would say, knowing you in that world, you definitely bust your ass. Like there's no two ways about it because you were always there before and after most people. So you put in the graft. Um, Crazy. Um, but I found when I had teams, there were the people who came on junior and they knew that they wanted to just soak up everything. And they didn't just want to do what their job spec said. They were like, I found this other thing. Like, I want to go and become the Google shopping expert. How do I do that? Like, help me. And there were other people that after a year came to us and just said, cool, I've been here a year. Where's
I
my
need a
pay rise?
promotion.
Where's my pay rise? Yeah. And I think I don't know if do you still experience that now? Do you think that's a mindset thing? Is it maybe that people just aren't fully into it and just see it as a job, which is okay? Like what is that?
Yeah, I mean, if you see it as a job and you just want to get your paycheck, then don't ask for a pay rise. No one should get promoted for just like doing their job spec. You need to be doing the level above you, as a rule. I think a few things. I like what you said here about like seeing something and going for it and spearheading or championing it, having side hustles. It's not only a sign to your peers that you're passionate and that you want to do something, but you're also adding value. And it's that kind of three-way win-win-win, right? If you're adding value to the team around you and the clients, that's a win, right? If you're a specialist in shopping at Google Shopping, then great, your knowledge is going to help your client and your team. It's also going to make you feel empowered and excited and really feel valued and motivated at work. And then you're also likely going to be a kind of thought leader for your agency. So it's this kind of like weird win-win-win where everything's buzzing off itself, and you're just adding a lot of value for everyone involved. So I think finding something like that sort of niche where you can just get passionate about it, and it's pairing up with other people. It doesn't have to be your own separate thing, but you've got to have that drive to read up and to look online. That what you said, there's a difference between people who are just like, I haven't done this before, how'd you do it, and people that are like, I've looked online and I tried it this way, and then I watched this video on it, and if the formula is just not working, or something like that, then you can be like, oh, fine, yeah, you really care and you've tried it. So I think having that drive and that passion is really important. I also would say to anyone who's, a little more less experienced and feels like they're floundering, shut up and get on with it. Just get on with it and don't keep looking. Just get good at what you're doing. Just graft and stop doubting yourself. Is this the real career you're going for? Should you be maybe looking at something else? Like, give it at least a year and a half and see if you can get good at it. And if not, fine, move on. But most people will find that, if they really try and stick to something, you'll get good at it. And oh yeah, getting good at things means that you really enjoy it, and then you just kind of flourish from there. But yeah, there's a lot of newbies that start out that are questioning what they're doing, and like, oh, why haven't I been promoted? It's like, shut up and get on with it and just get good. And when you're good, you're untouchable, because that your knowledge is going to become very powerful.
I think New York has created the perfect storm of like your Scottish directness and bluntness with that New York vibe. It's just like cutthroat, straight to the point. But it's true though. You are right. I'm laughing because I find it amusing. But it's very much like when you're young, well, whatever age you are, we should be just trying stuff anyway. Like there is no one and done job for life anyhow. So a year is nothing. And also I think people look at so you can make a career out of working in paid advertising, but even if you don't want to, it's a skill set that even if after a year and a half it's not the right fit for you, it's a really useful skill set to know because that's pretty much how everybody's advertising now.
Big
Um,
time.
it's not like who watches a TV commercial unless you're forced to, but if I can put a paid ad on someone's Facebook feed and show them my infomercial there, it's kind of the modern day equivalent of the same thing. And it's a level playing field, or, a YouTube pre roll. And I don't know, I still think, and I'd love to get your take on this. I think people don't quite get that yet that aren't in the industry. And I know it might be tough because you're in it, but do you feel when you're conversing with people that are maybe not that quite savvy that they fully still aren't connecting the fact that Google, Facebook, like YouTube, all these platforms are the new communication platforms, not just for like humans, but for your businesses and your advertising? Do you think people get it?
Yeah, I think so. I think it depends what you do as a person. So if you're a little bit older and still love watching TV, then and we find that right with some of the brands or the clients that we work with, if their marketing team tends to be a little bit more mature, they're less inclined to go towards digital. I mean, it makes sense. There's nothing revolutionary there, but I guess what's cool about digital is that it's accessible to everyone. So it's accessible to the big brands, and it's really important there, and they can bolster everything from kind of where they are. It's also really accessible to startups and to smaller companies. You can make such a difference with a small amount of budget if you just do it right.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been really cool to, okay, I work with some amazing big clients that I'm doing the craziest shit, but there's also, my friend's dad who wants me to help out his Edinburgh company because they need to bolster their website traffic. And I'm like, well, that's just website traffic. And I can do that. How much budget do you have? And it's not much, but you can do it. You don't have to throw like a £500,000 or dollar, TV Super Bowl commercial at something. You can actually just kind of start to bolster it. It's the same with friends who've got their own t-shirt companies. They'll just start with Facebook advertising, do it in a smart way, target the right people, and then you can really build things. So yeah, I think digital advertising is not always sexy. It's not always the kind of creative men wearing waistcoats, smoking pipes, thinking up these drastic ideas and shaking things up. But it's also really valuable to everyone. And it's accessible. It's something you can learn as a skill. The analytics skills that you're going to get there are transferable across any jobs. You can present to wide, the whole company, to clients. You're building up client rapport. You're learning about business. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned recently. Definitely how to manage people, and I'm still working on it. I'm sure not everyone loves my management style, but that's a really cool skill with people. And then there's also just sitting at tables with clients and they're talking to you about their business problems. It's not like how do we increase, even just like how do we increase website traffic? It's like something's going wrong here, we're not growing, how do we help? And so we can look at data, or we can analyze it, or we can be those guys with the pipes and the waistcoats being like, well, what about this? Have you tried that? Because the importance of digital advertising to their business and understanding their business fully from the data means that you get included in a lot more business centric decisions. You're not just that kind of pigeonholed person and kind of channel specific specialist. You actually become a lot more valuable because of your knowledge and your background and your experience.
And you're not just running an ad, you're actually realizing and appreciating that half of their business revenue might rely on doing a strategy that's actually going to bring them traffic or sales or conversions or whatever it might be. And I think the key thing that you mentioned that I really resonated with was for smaller businesses and startups that look, I guess with the moment that we're going through now, where people are maybe questioning a little bit, like, should I work for someone else forever? Is that as secure as I thought? Is it the time to really go all in on that side hustle I had, or just really do what I want to do? Sometimes people then go, well, I could make it, but then how do I know if I can even get it out there? And I think this is where your paid ads can come into play, where they can look and go, well, I can test and maybe I can build a small audience and go from there. And it's all of a sudden more accessible than 10, 20 years ago, where like you couldn't get in the game.
And it's not as high risk, right? Even if you do build something and it goes flat on its face, which by the way most startups do, you've not lost as much funding on all of this big advertising. You can kind of just plug away at it and see it and test.
Well, there's less excuses, right? There's not now that excuse of, but I need seed capital and I need this much investment before, and like that you can do it, but you don't. That's not the only version of a startup. Like a startup can be, you in your loft or basement or wherever the hell people live these days, um, and making products that you just or drop shipping or whatever, or making a digital product. Like there's so many more opportunities. Like you say, the cost is minimal. Like you don't have to spend thousands or millions to get a business going.
Yeah, it's really cool. Someone just sent me a link for this new app that they'd created with their like sister agency of mine called Face Jar, and it's obviously created it for COVID times. And you plug it on, so I could have it on right now as we're video conferencing, and every time you touch your face, it counts it, and at the end, it tells you how much you owe the Face Jar, and it submits it to the healthcare team. But it's basically to say, are you aware of how much you're touching your face and how much that can spread, spread something like COVID? I just thought it was really wacky idea, helpful, doing good, but also like they've been quick. They've built that so quickly and they don't really need any funding. You just send it, it's cool.
What about let's spin onto your side hustles then, because we've spoken about what you do, obviously from a day to day working in a big digital agency, but obviously you do have some of your own side hustles on the go, or a side hustle. How did that come about, and what was the sort of period or moment that led up to you sort of going, yeah, like I feel like it's right to do this now?
What side hustle are we talking about?
Do you have like a fashion side hustle or something that you work in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a couple of things now. So the fashion side hustle is really my roommate who was a model, and she just loves clothes, and she just bought a sewing machine and just is making the most crazy things. She's taught me a little bit, and nor can't do anything like she can. And she just wants to make stuff. And so eventually I just went into her room and said, right, you can make whatever you want, but we need to get that out there. And so let's create a website. Let's actually, start selling on Etsy or whatever these sites are, and like get your stuff out there. So that was a really fun project. She's now moved back to London, and she's making the most. Just made a high vis cape for my nephew, my 2-year-old nephew, with his name and neon writing. But I guess the point is, she with digital there as well. I'm not the talent. I'm nothing. I'm just trying to push her in a business centric way. And she's still very reluctant to share some of her amazing outfits that she creates and things like that. But it's so fun, and it's dipping your toe into business like that, and there's no risk really. I mean, I think we paid for domain name and things like that. A new one that I've literally just started a few weeks ago with my friend in London. She is a scientist, has done a PhD, and she's now at Central St. Martin's teaching kind of biochemistry and all sorts of cool things. So we're going to try and create our own business of different projects on how to use what's existing and kind of invent things as well. Very vague, but just hopefully having that open mind. And we had a really fun brainstorming session with a lot of bubbles and wine. But it's kind of fun, just those kind of side hustles that you just decide you want to do. Just start and put. I always put pen to paper. I'm not really it's still write written notes, but just start brainstorming and see what happens. Because the most important thing for us with a lot of wine was the name, and kind of creating a website. But we're both excited to just have another session of here's these new biochemical ideas. What do we need, and creating a business plan from there is something that's quite fun too. So I'd encourage anyone to team up with a mate and start brainstorming what you're both good at or what you both enjoy. It's quite fun.
It's also just like, I guess, a really good outlet, not just for your creativity, but for all the experience you've built up over these years to apply it to something that's not that working for an agency isn't personal, but it's different when it's something that you're nurturing from literally like that embryonic stage to see what it might flourish into. Like, do you feel that, does it feel different to you, one versus the other?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's cool that you have a skill that other people can't actually do, and you can even skill up more. So learning kind of HTML or whatever web coding you do, actually having a project to skill up and expand really makes it fun. And there's something magical about just showing people your website. Or I think for with the clothes company, it was her labels. She got these labels made that she now sews to each of her clothes, and it just you've now you've used your digital skills or whatever sewing skills, and you've made something tangible, and it's just yeah, there's a real buzz to that as well. And I think both you and I have worked in kind of a big agency, which is, there's a lot of pros and cons of everything. But I think one of the pros of a big agency is that security and the training that you get and the exposure to big clients, which means, you're never going to take that away from you. But also, it's nice to go from really big to just building something small and seeing the results that way as well. So, yeah, mixture.
Now, yeah, like you've worked in some of the biggest agencies with the biggest clients. You've, got probably some of the smartest people in the industry that have dovetailed with you at some point. Direct contacts with Google, all their new products, you probably get dibs on them earlier than many people do. Do you, with all that, sometimes forget what you actually know? And I don't mean what you're doing. I mean, do you sometimes think that it's just common knowledge because you're surrounded by people that all know it and are so great at it that do you almost forget that this isn't that commonplace of a skill set or a thing to be aware of? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, one conversation with my 75-year-old father, no, I'm very aware of how skilled up I am. He's still got, at yahoo.co.uk email address. Um, I think it's important, like we talked about earlier, to have that side hustle and to skill up and feel value in something, because you also with one of the hardest things for people, especially if they're good at their job, is experience. You can't really train someone on experience. You have to build it. You have to be in situations and settings. And I think I've got to this stage now that even if a new product comes out, I'm automatically joining the dots of, well, that product will probably be applied to this other situation, and they'll probably expand that into here. And that's not because I'm so skilled. No, that's because I've just seen things like that happen in her 8-9 years that I've been working. So I think I'll still be on calls. I was on one yesterday and people were like, oh, wow, this new product, it does this. This is how it works. Great. And I was like, yeah, but if you think about it, it's very similar to that. So they'll probably, and everyone was like, oh, how did you do? And it's just that experience piece, which is so shit for someone to be told. You're doing really great, but you just need to build some more experience. It's like life experience, right? You just can't teach it or skill up in it. You just need to just go through it. And a lot of the times when people are almost hitting that managerial role or, getting more senior, the hardest piece of feedback to give is like, just build your experience, because, yeah, there's nothing you can do apart from just jump in and sink or swim.
Let's talk about that because you said a scary word for some people, managerial or management. Um, my personal view is that not everybody is suited for that because I think it's a certain type of person that is actually going to be good in those roles. What's your take? Do you feel that everybody has to go through this hierarchy of going up the ranks to becoming a manager and being responsible for other people? Or do you think sometimes some people have skill sets that are better suited into different areas? Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I want you to give a little on your
You
experience.
want me to hang myself on my own question? No, my view is that management isn't specific to an industry, it's specific to an individual's way of being. And I think when you're a manager, sometimes it's easy to think that, oh, cool, now I have all these people that are going to do the work for me. I get to delegate, and I think that's a big misconception. It's like you're a manager, now you work for them. Like if you're the boss of a company, you have employees, but it's not that they work for you. I think you work for them. Like you need to create the culture and the environment that they can flourish in. And that was always my take on it. Like personally, I used to always say, I don't care how much money we make for the clients. Personally, it doesn't make a difference to me. So what I got most enjoyment out of was helping the people come through, actually learn stuff and see them like progress. That was more rewarding to me as an individual. Does that make me a good manager? I don't know, but I think it makes me maybe a better one than if I was just thinking, oh, I've got minions, which I think is
Uh,
an easy misconception. The other one, I guess, from the flip side is I think a lot of times when people are used to doing all the work, then they become a manager just because that's the linear progression. They're still wired in worker bee mode. Whereas the skill set of being a manager is you have to learn to let go of doing some of that. And there's like a gap in terms of how you get people ready for that. Like it's not tangible. That's the thing. This is tangible. I think that's what that means.
got it. This is
Yeah.
tangible for me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it's yeah, all really, really great points. I think you raise something in, the people working for you, but you're actually working for them. I think that's really important to learn. I think also I don't think as a manager people should respect you. You should get the kind of benefit of the doubt. And I think that goes against what a lot of managers would believe. But I feel like you have to earn respect. You have to show them that you can do a lot of what they do. And you can take, assertion or present or whatever it may be that's going to impress them. Or you explain why you don't do it. So if you don't know how to do something that they know how to do, you need to explain why you don't know that, or really kind of make it open and honest so that you can build respect through the other things you can do. I don't think, if someone comes into a company and is more senior and doesn't know how to do your job, but is telling you what to do,
Okay. And
there's going to be a little bit of friction there, and I'm sure we've all been in that. So what do you do as a sensible or experienced manager? You open that up and you say, I can't do that. That's really impressive. I'd love to learn how to do it, but what I can do is this and this. So let's kind of work through that. I think that's really important. You can't just expect respect from people, and you have to kind of prove that. I guess the other thing I would just is a bit of an anecdote from when I moved to New York. Moved to New York from the London office, and was all excited, wanted to do an impressive job, knew my stuff. I just managed, this great big account in London, and now I was going to New York, so I was going to be great, and they were going to learn from me. And then I got there, and within the second week, I was doing one-on-ones just to see. I'd gone from a team of I think one or two to kind of 7 or 8. I'm totally cool with this. I'm totally fine. And I just sort of asked them a few questions, and I think 4 out of the 6 people in one team started crying, and they were just stressed, straight out of university, fresh in New York, and just stressed and overwhelmed. And I had to man up and just go, right, stop. Like, this isn't about you. This is about them. You need to also be there for them. And that just helped them grow. And it really just shook me a little bit, because I thought it was all about me. And the biggest lesson of manager is it's not really about you at all. And it's once I think that also I was quite lucky there, because once that happened, I felt a lot of empathy and compassion towards these people. They'd opened up to me, and so it was very easy for me to put them forward for things, or to big them up, or make them internally be recognized. And I think that's something that I got thrown in at the deep end for, because otherwise I was probably going to try and show everyone that I knew what I was doing. I promise, like, you've not made the wrong decision moving me from London. But actually, opening that up and having those really open discussions with people that I hardly knew was one of the best things that could have happened, because then you're closer, you're tighter, and you have all sorts of newfound bonds with people. So I think, yeah, I got lucky there. I think there's also, to your point, you don't have to be a good manager. You can just be really, really good at your skill set, or a different skill set. But you'll also find people in managerial roles who are neither, which just happens. And I think in that situation, you need to rise above it and be professional and mature about it, and let their just to have integrity and do the right thing, rather than get frustrated, or start to let emotions get tied into how you're feeling.
yeah, because it's a big old game at the end of the day, but it doesn't mean the politics of what goes on in any company. Like all companies have it, but I think what you spoke to a second ago is more important, which is the empathy and the compassion and the non-tangible metrics that you're maybe not judged on, but that last a lot longer. Like the person that comes in crying to you in your second week, that you put the arm around and nurture them to then be whatever they're going to be. is going to remember that and you way more and much longer than if you don't do that, but you work on an account that, you know, hits all the tick boxes and makes zillions of dollars. Like you want to do both, but if you got to pick, I don't know what's got more weight.
It kind of ties into something that I remember when we worked together in the London office. I just remember the kind of head of department at the time saying, um, just have integrity in what you do, just do the right thing. And I think it was one of our biggest clients, and we could really push money at this campaign because, you know, money great, but actually it was like, that's not the right thing for their business. This was a huge supermarket, and he was saying, no, still don't do it. It's still not the right thing to do. And for me, that really has, every time I'm in a weird situation, I'll take a step back and just say, just do the right thing, like have integrity and make the right decision for that client, you know, or business or managerial decision as well. Being able to do that and have that mantra, I think, is really important.
Okay, now we're going into possibly more interesting ground. So it's a like business is frantic and hectic, loads of stuff's thrown at you any given day, people, calls, like all kinds of crazy shit. How, like, what I don't know, do you have routines or things that you do for you as Christina that helps keep you grounded or in the moment? Like you just mentioned there, obviously one little thing that you say to yourself when you're sort of in doubt. Do you have like certain practices or anything that help you as a person so that when you're in that world, which is so fast paced, you can still kind of have a bit of clarity when the crazy moments hit?
Yeah, I mean, I've got three things here. I'll probably forget them. The first one is really simple and tactical. Just rewrite your to-do list. I know that sounds ridiculous, whether you're kind of doing it online or whatever, but like refresh your to-do list when there's just too many things going on. And make sure you're writing things as they come in. I've taught this to a lot of people, and so many people have said, thanks so much. Or I'll come round and they'll say, well, I'm not gonna have time. And I'll go, don't worry, just take 5 minutes and just rewrite your to-do list. I actually do it in a kind of quartile. So I'll have, you know, really gotta do now, like probably gonna happen tomorrow, this week. And then I've got like bottom right quartile is like laundry and like do your tax forms or whatever, you know, just things that I don't want to forget about. And organizing your brain in the way that works for you is just so important, because then you can kind of relax a bit and start doing things properly. Now I know that's kind of boring, but really important for day-to-day work.
But is that the act of putting it on paper or physically getting it out of your head that makes a difference?
Yeah, the act of getting it down, but also then you might have it down, right? You might have written your to-do list that morning, and by 12 o'clock, you know, just hitting lunchtime, and just you're frazzled. Just rewrite it. It takes you a few minutes. Just keep rewriting it every hour if you have to, and make sure you're kind of ticking that off with a big giant tick or cross. So that one's probably quite tactical. One that I find very important, especially when you're dealing with quite emotional people, and I don't mean emotional in, you know, emotions can be brilliant at work as well, but you know, as again, maybe as a manager, but not necessarily as a manager, maybe just as a colleague, if someone's annoyed or angry or getting frustrated at the client, you know, and I think that's a really important skill as well, is to not get visibly frustrated, because it riles everyone up. But I have a colleague who just wants to let loose and rip, and this will certainly be on clients, but it'll also be about the team that I work with. And so often, you know, I'll get in the morning, she'll be like, do you know what just happened with so and so? Like, we need to talk to him right now. That's never acceptable. And I'll go, all right, yeah. And the best thing you can do to that person in that moment that I found is to book a meeting, take it really seriously, but book a meeting for the next morning, so that they've had time to calm down. They know that the meeting's happening, so they're excited about that. Usually by next morning, it's not that important. It's fine, because that person's emotions, you can't really change them, and you ignoring them is going to make it worse. So give, you know, a lot of oomph, and, you know, respect that person's opinion. And if it's still important the next morning, fair enough, listen. But if they decide to maybe cancel that meeting, or they're too busy, I find that often happens quite a lot.
Little bit of strategic empathy going on. Wow,
yeah, just give them a chance to cool off a bit. And I think, you know, the last one, that's something that's very hard is just to be kind. And it sounds so cheesy, but like to be kind in your job, to think about the other person, to be nice and do the right thing, um, is incredibly difficult, but it's just one of the most important learnings in any work, is to give that person the benefit of the doubt, to have integrity in any decision making, and to just, be kind to others and not get frustrated. If it's so difficult to do, I certainly can't do it in my private life, so I get so worked up. But actually, separating your private life and your loved ones and family and friends from your professional work, you can be kind in that situation. It's professional. You can do the right thing in a different way, and you can, slow your emotions down and analyze them a little bit better and give people benefit of the doubt when it's not as close to the heart. It can be more in the brain. But yeah, that's one that I think, most people do know what the right thing to do is, the good thing. And you can make an active decision not to do that, or you can go with it and just, yeah, be kind. Because there's so many times where I've done the right thing, been really angry about it, or I've not sent that horrible email, and I'm so glad I didn't, because I found out other things after that, or understood that that person was really going through something, or that they'd had the pressure from someone else, or that, if I'd sent that email, it would have been shared with, so I think just do the right thing, and be kind, and you'll be a lot happier and make other people a lot happier as well.
And you never know what other people are actually going through. You know what I mean? Like everybody's got their own stuff, and you don't know what's triggered them to act or behave in a certain way. And even if they maybe do something that in your eyes isn't the right thing from your moral compass, either by their perspective it is, or even if it isn't, you don't know what's driven them to do that. Like maybe they're wired to think they have to act that way to get ahead because they were taught you got to get ahead by climbing on other people or whatever the hell it is, right? And I think whilst it might be empirically wrong, it's easy to judge someone else. You know what I mean? And I think that isn't going to be beneficial to anybody. But we're preaching, we're waxing lyrical about something. It's much harder said than done, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Okay, I have two questions that are kind of unrelated, but I want to get them out. So the first one is, what kind of advice would you give to someone who wants to get into the industry who hasn't worked in it before? And let's go skew to someone who's younger, fresh out of college, or they've only worked like a few years in a different industry. They've heard about digital, they see it's, still a booming industry and want to get into it, ain't going anywhere. What would you advise to them in terms of how to approach it and how to maybe get a foot in the door?
Yeah, I think from the, what was it, tangible perspective.
Yep. Yep.
The tangible
I'm a
perspective.
Cancerian. I can do that. Oh, you're a Cancerian too.
I'm a Gemini Cancer on the cusp.
Oh, then you can't do it.
Okay.
That's the rule.
Tangible perspective, then I think, the givens are show that you're interested. So online training, there is a whole host of digital trainings from, the big Googles and Facebooks of the world. So just do them. Just, even if it's not all going in, start to show that you've done them, add them to your CV, and really kind of read some of the trade press and know what's going on. I think that just shows that you're interested. But I don't think, if someone who's just starting off, I'm not really I didn't even know how to do an Excel formula when I started. I think I got my brother to do it on the application form. So we're going to train you from the bottom up. I think what we're really looking for is someone who's smart. Like, that's something that I can't find in every candidate. It's someone that, and I don't just mean book smart. You don't have to be book smart, but someone who is personable. Try and relax. It's horrible in interviews when someone's nervous. You're going to get nervous. It's totally fine. I once brought some guy a cookie because I saw how nervous he was, and once we kind of broke the cookie, things dissolved. So just, practice your interviews or whatever, but really read up on the company, perfect your CV, and just try and figure out why you want the job in digital. What is it? And if you can tailor any conversations towards that, it'll get you excited about it, and you'll be able to have good conversations. But I think, from an entry level perspective, just read up, whether it's training or online trade press or websites, or kind of have that inquisitive knowledge. I'm sure Reddit's got a whole host of things out there as well, but we're not looking for someone fully formed. We're looking for someone that's going to work well and that we can help shape. I think it's just about proving that you're nice, kind, passionate, and smart is the main thing.
Yeah, I think that's a big one, right? It's not about the degree. Not to like burst
No.
anyone's bubble who's just had their mom and dad spend all their money on a degree or that they've paid it for themselves, but it's not about like, I know I'd hired people that had history degrees, math degrees. I hired people that had no degrees. I'm sure you've had the same, where it's not like you have to have done economics or business or maths to come into this world, or marketing. You don't have to learn any marketing at uni per se. Um, the other thing that I found in my experience, I don't know if you agree with this, is I want to get to know the person because I want to know more than anything if they're going to fit in the team and the culture. And so, with that in mind, I don't want the person to tell me in an interview what they think I want to hear. I'd
Yeah.
much, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. There'll be questions where I know they won't know the answer, and I'll say, don't lie, or don't try and I just want someone who's authentic and genuine and comfortable with not knowing. It's such a good point. Yeah, you don't want someone that's like, I'm hardworking and great in a team and collaborative and I'm a great communicator. No, I'll be the judge of that by the way you're communicating with me. Like, let's just talk about you and what you like, and yeah, be authentic. Really good one.
I don't know who showed you my interview cheer, but if you could not make that public like that again, that'd be great. 'Cause that's the only way I was getting work. So thanks for that. No, it's true, but it's a hard one. Like at any age, I think it's a tough one to say. Be authentic, and everyone will be like, "Well, cool." Everybody says that. What, like what the like? How do I do that? What does that mean? You know what I mean? And especially when you're younger and you have your parents like telling you all this stuff, and your friend just got a job, and then the media is telling you got to do this or be that or whatever. And I think it's really tough. And I think there is no right or wrong way of how you approach that. I think, like you said, it's experience. Like you talking about experience in a job, just experience of life will help you feel more at ease with what authentic means for you. But just when you interview, be kind to yourself. I think because it's not the be all and end
Yeah.
all. Like
And
if you
and
get the job, great. If you don't, fuck them.
exactly. It's good experience. It really is. And interviewing is kind of about practice as well. And I guess also just try and get talking about something that you do authentically love, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
cricket or art or whatever. If you can kind of give that and get chatting and open up about it, you'll probably, the passion will come through, and you'll be normal and relax a little bit as well. I also find if you before an interview, if you go into the bathrooms and stand in a big power pose, and then if I'm about to go on and present something, I'll always try and, like, you'll see me and I'll be like, I'll be trying to laugh, because when you smile and you laugh and it lets out endorphins and all these things, that will just relax you a little bit as well. So there's also, I'm sure there's TED talks on this stuff, but just research ways if you get nervous or if things are not going your way, just kind of research different techniques to try and help you get through.
So many things you can do. I mean, it's a mindset thing, right? It's the same as like actors. We're all taught to do breath work and get in touch with your breath. And before an audition, you can get nervous. Say an audition's an interview. It's the same. Like
Yeah,
maybe music will help you. Maybe it's just take 5 minutes just to close your eyes, take some deep breaths, and just try and relax yourself that way and get out of your head. It's different for everybody, but yeah, maybe it's a power pose, maybe it's affirmations, maybe it's none of the above, but not to psych yourself out over something that in the grand scheme of things is just another moment. Like the job is just a job. There's plenty of them going around. Have fun with it.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, quick one on the other question is, so the paid ad stuff is here to stay. Google and Facebook ain't going anywhere. We know that. Where do you, it's that terrible question, but where do you possibly see things going with these industries, and what sort of, not what big products or inventions are on the horizon, but in your opinion, how might things evolve with paid media over the coming X years?
I hope this isn't a too generic a question, an answer rather. It's truly what I think. So I think we've had this wave of mobile, age of mobile, and eventually that caught up. And then we've had this sort of like weird teetering around voice and, like Amazon. I don't even want to say Alexa in case she's awake. The Google Home device or anything like that. But I think, that's all fine and good. But what we're really at a stage now is that there's been so much investment, so much engineering, so much time spent in machine learning and automation that really this is going to change a lot. And by that, I mean, when you search for something on Google, your search results are going to be different from my search results, not just because of what we searched for in the past, but because of what the machine learning knows about you and how you act. And it'll even know, if I'm searching at 2 a.m, that I'm probably drunk and want, a kind of lively song on YouTube, rather than if I'm searching at 2 p.m. when I'm probably having, an afternoon tea or something like that, and I'll want something more chilled. So I think this idea of the machine learning, all these different parts of data coming together, and Google and Facebook and all these big large media platforms, they have invested so much in being able to predict people and what's going to work and performance. From my perspective as a kind of paid digital advertiser, this is something that's really going to shift my role into not just being a specialist in how to set things up, but being a specialist in how to use that machine learning and that automation to do what I want it to, and to hit the goals that I have and to provide it more data. I don't think it's necessarily going to crunch down the number of people that we have in our agency, but it's going to slowly start to skew our roles into being able to be perfectionists at using machine learning and automation tools much better.
It's more the psychology, I guess, of intent-based targeting and delivering the right message to the right person at that key time, right? Does that scare you as a human, not just not a marketer? Put that to one side, but how do you feel, just as Christina Malcolm, the human being, about this idea of AI and machines might know more than you do about yourself at times? Because it's interesting.
So yes, I mean it's generally scary. I don't think we're going to solve that right now, and I don't know enough about it, to be honest. I'm not, an expert in what they do and don't know. One thing that I will say that's come through in the last 12 months, perhaps more like the past 3-4 years, is the idea of data privacy.
Yep.
And the consumers now, we've seen this age of content and consumers getting what they want content wise. And then this idea of personalization and personalizing experiences for people. Now we're in this age of data privacy. And it's almost like the consumers are taking control of what they want to be used and what they don't. And I'm not just talking, the GDPR or the CCPA, which is kind of California Consumer Privacy Act. These legal regulations now are putting the onus on big platforms or agencies or brands to be much more careful about the data and the tools and that technology. But there's also these browser changes. So Apple Safari, Mozilla, Firefox, and now Google Chrome are now changing what's even possible on browsers. So the way that you actually access the internet or go online, whatever browser you use, will now be shifting what you can, what will be shared online because of this idea of consumer privacy. And so I think, yes, we're going to see AI and machine learning take off, but there's also going to be this wave of not quite exactly what you thought you were going to get, because there's going to be shifts. And I think it's not necessarily, going together at the same time, but, as one strengthens, the other will also strengthen. And it'll mean that, the kind of opening for that scary world will not be as scary, hopefully.
Yeah, it's not going to be Minority Report, hopefully. Who knows?
But I love that movie.
Really? Oh, take that back.
I love it. I think it's great with the three predictors of the future.
You got it. Yeah, Google, Facebook, and YouTube, I think, were their names in the movie, weren't it? I don't know. Okay, let's wrap this up. I always finish this with 10 super quick fire questions. And then we can wrap up the thing. No, it's good. It's all good. Do you know the show Inside the Actor Studio? Did you ever watch that? No?
No.
God damn it. The number of people that say no shocks me. Okay, well, the question's from there. So the first question is, what is your favorite word?
Bubble.
What's your least favorite word?
Oh. Twat.
See, that's my favorite one. No. What turns you on in an intellectual, spiritual, creative kind of sense?
Crafting, not just painting or drawing. I'm pretty crap at that, but making things with a big craft box of pom poms and glitter.
What turns you off?
Being sent hundreds of articles that I'm never going to have time to read.
Look, that was one time, all right? And I thought you had read them, so that's disappointing. Next question is, what is your favorite swear word?
Fuck. Fuck, fuck, fuck.
It's a good one. I was expecting it, but I was hoping for something. I always hope for something really creative, but it's always
Shite.
fuck.
Shite bags.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'll take both. What's your favorite sound or noise?
Ooh. Yes. Ooh.
I like that you're the first person that's actually done the sound or noise.
Oh, really? What?
Most people just go like laughter.
Fridge opening.
Yeah, exactly. Or closing. What's your least favorite sound or noise? And you don't have to mime it, but if you want to.
Just that classic like screech of like.
I love you doing the sound effects. I'm going to make people do them now. Thank you. You've given me a new idea. Okay, final few questions. If you could do any other profession other than your own, what would you most like to do?
I would really like to work in a startup. I'm sure I'd love to be, an author or a poet, but actually I'd really love to build something startup wise.
Creative. Something.
Creative dance.
Creative dance. Experimental dance. I'm a tree, now I'm a bush, now I'm a tree. What profession would you definitely never, ever, ever want to do?
Law. So archaic. It doesn't make sense.
Okay. And last question. When it's all said and done, all the smoke's cleared, what would you like the story of your life to be?
So cheesy again, but just to
What we do, cheese.
have an interesting life and to see things and do things and learn things and meet people. Just simple, rewarding stuff really, and lots of colors.
Awesome. Cool. Well, listen, thank you. This has been really fun and really great. Last moment's really over to you. Any kind of closing messages, people where they can connect with you, anything you got going on? Just last few seconds for you to give a shout out to whatever you want to shout out.
Oh gosh. Christina Malcolm is my name. I'm sure you'll find me. But no, thank you so much, Ashley. This has been amazing. It's so lovely to see you. I know we saw each other in New York.
That was another lifetime. That was another lifetime.
Yeah, lots of things have changed for you and the world and me. But yeah, let's keep in touch and yeah, this has been really fun. Thank you for humoring me and listening.
It's been good. It's been good. I think there's lots of interesting stuff there for people that don't know about the digital marketing world. And I think that was a big reason for me to want to do this. So thank you. It's been great.
Thank you. All right.
Awesome. See you later.
Bye.